Good morning, my brothers and sisters. How can I attach myself to a shadow? So we're in Psalm 91, finishing it up, and there's this beautiful imagery that the psalm starts out with. Let me do verse 1 and 2. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So I want to go run a little bit with the idea of abiding in the shadow. And abiding in the shadow means to remain there, to tarry there, to lodge there, and spend some time there. And it's the shadow of the Lord. So the idea is to dwell so close to the Lord that the believer guy or gal is within shadow distance. And the shadow is how close I want to be to the standing of the Lord. I want to be, other imagery from Psalm 91, I want to be under the pinions of his wings, the collection of the feathers in a wing. I don't want to fear the terrors of the night and the arrows that fly by day. I want to make the Lord my dwelling place. I want to be in the place where no evil be allowed to befall. I want to be in the place where I'm guarded by angels, borne up lest my foot strikes a stone. I want the protection of the Lord, to know the Lord's name, and I want the Lord to be with me in trouble. Psalm 91 speaks about all of that stuff. And the neat thing about Psalm 91 is, when are all those wonderful, beautiful imagery enacted? Well, it's in the days of trouble. It's with snares and fowlers and deadly pestilence, terrors at night, arrows that fly by day, destruction, thousands falling at your side. And all along, verse 15, when he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him when? In trouble. So during all of that, what is the person doing? What is the psalmist doing? He's calling out to the Lord. He's holding fast to the Lord in love. He's knowing the Lord's name. He's treading on lions and serpents. He's making the Lord his dwelling place. And because he dwells in the shelter of the Most High and abides in the shadow of the Mighty, he's doing both of those things. He's saying to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So it's a very active. So first we have trouble, then we have this guy doing all these faithful actions, and then finally, what is the Lord doing? Well, he's doing the heavy lifting, obviously. He's delivering from the snare. He's delivering from the fowler, this fiendish person. He's delivering from deadly pestilence. He's covering with the protection of his feathers, his pinions. He's making this place of refuge under his wings. And he's all along, he's faithful. He's enacting the recompense of the wicked, which is the short way of saying the faithful believer gets to watch the Lord give the evil people what they deserve. The faithful guy is under this ultimate protection. No evil shall allow to befall you. No plague come near you. He commands angels on your behalf. Think about that. We have God Almighty and these angelic spiritual beings, which the Lord tells to protect and enact on the favor of this guy. This is the Lord delivering and protecting. He answers the call to him. He is with me in trouble, and he shows me his salvation. So how do I sign up for this, you may ask? What do I have to enjoy? What do I have to do to enjoy the defense of angels and the defense of the Lord himself? Well, there's a couple of action points. And I think it's a good way to kind of finish that psalm, which is make the Lord your dwelling place. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place. Abide in the shadow of the Almighty. That's what we're talking about today, is attaching ourselves to the shadow of the Lord himself. Dwell in the shelter of the Most High. Hold fast to him in love. That's a beautiful line from verse 14. Know his name. Call to him. Verse 2 says, my. This is for me. I choose this. I choose him. I put my stake in the ground, in his shelter and in his shadow. And it's this guy who dwells so close to the Lord that he's within shadow distance. That's kind of the image I want to leave with Psalm 91, is dwelling in the shadow of the Almighty, abiding in the shadow of the Almighty. So the action point, verse 1, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty, dwelling and abiding. Verse 2, I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So this is a extremely personal, intimate declaration of faith. So dwelling in the shelter of the Most High, abiding in the shadow of the Almighty, dwelling in your shelter and saying, my, this is for me. I choose this. I put my stake and my ground in his shelter and his shadow. So my refuge, my fortress, my God, I'm identifying with you. So join me today in trusting when the fur flies, when all around me is terror and wickedness and fowlers and pestilence and arrows and destruction. Maybe that describes your life here today, this morning. So either this psalm is true or it's not. It's either, it's real or it's fantasy. It's for those that entrust or it is not. And I say, choose this day whom you will serve. That is, do you want this for you? And where are you location-wise? Are you dwelling with the Lord? Are you abiding in his shadow? He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. That's verse 1 and 2. So who will also do verse 14, one of my other favorites, is who will hold fast to the Lord when in love. Remember, that's the attachment locally and nearly and familiarly. So we want the familiarity of the friendship of God, but we also want the fondness. So who will declare with me, I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I trust. All right, so let's abide in the shadow. Let's remain there. Let's tarry and lodge and spend some time there. And let's put your stake in the ground in his shelter and in his shadow, who dwells so close to the Lord. May this be said of you, that person dwelled so close to the Lord that he was within shadow distance. So who's with me today in attaching ourselves to the shadow of the Almighty? Thanks for listening.